Johnny Hodges was the master of making a tune his own. He was an amazing person and had the amazing ability to put his own touch and his own mark on the music. Today, we're going to talk about his performance on A Flower is a Lovesome Thing to give an example of how this artist, given a sheet of paper, makes it his own. Whenever you're giving music, it's just notes on the page. They're just written lines. They're just half notes, quarter notes, eighth notes, whatever. But how do we make those notes come to life? And that's what we're going to talk about in today's video. Hey guys, I'm Royce Phillips Jr., where I talk about saxophone, musicianship, and right now we're talking about Johnny Hodges in the Year of the Rabbit. But if you like this kind of content where we talk about saxophone, do the deep dives on one artist, on one song, and you want to learn a little bit more about how you can incorporate some of these things into your own musicianship, be sure to hit that subscribe button so you know when more videos come out. So right now, we're going to talk about A Flower is a Lovesome Thing. It's one of my favorite ballads that Johnny Hodges does, and it's not one where you usually hear his big glissando technique, like in I've Got It Bad and That's Real Good, or I've Got It Bad and That Ain't Good, excuse me. You know, his big glisses that he's known for. But this is a different tune where he's very more quiet. It's more introspective. It's very use of dynamics, especially the softer dynamics. I want to talk about how he chooses to interpret the music that he's given. Here's an example. Here's A Flower is a Lovesome Thing lead sheet. Look, they're just notes. They're just notes on the page. And right now you see they're straight eighths. But we can use Johnny Hodges' example of how to perform this piece. So let's get into this tune. Right at the top, Johnny Hodges, let's see how he decides to play this music. Immediately, what do you notice? What do you hear? He's kind of playing with a slight swing feel. If you look at these notes, you just see they're just eighth notes. If you were to not swing it and just play it as it's written, straight eighths, no interpretation, this is how it would sound like. But Johnny Hodges doesn't do that. Johnny Hodges has a little bit of a swing feel. So now that you know that this is the melody, listen again and hear how he is interpreting this melody line. Hear the difference between what I played and what he played? He plays with a little bit of a swing feel. Slight swing feel. So there's a little bit of a lilt to his melody, even though it's a ballad, even though it's a little slower, it's not a straight eighth feel. It's got that swing feel. And especially here in this moment, take a look at the music and see what you hear, or try to think about what he's going to play. And then let's actually listen to what he plays in the second half. You still hear those swing eighths, but then he also adds a little extra interpretation to the melody. So still with that swing feel, but if you notice the music says this. He doesn't play that. He adds some extra notes. He has that swing feel, but then he also adds some notes in between. And then in between that half step going down from the concert E to the concert E flat, he has this little bit of a fall. Right? Let's give that a listen to again. He adds these extra ornaments to the notes. It's not just so literal. Versus and then listen here how he does this little bit of it's tiny, but you gotta listen. And then a little bit of a bend to that note. And slow vibrato. When you see some of these, like if you get a lead sheet, you got to look and see how you can make it your own, but still keeping the integrity of the melody, right? Johnny Hodges isn't just going off and you know, he's not just going off into his own space. He's still holding the integrity of what the basis of that melody is and adding some ornamentation, adding some scoops. But this is very subtle compared to his other stuff. This is more subtle than he's done in a lot of his other tunes. But now let's listen to how he goes to the second A and hear the difference on what he chooses to do in this melody. Notice the difference? He's changing the rhythm of the melody to make the A's have a different feel. So the first time around, he goes. The second time. So these are a couple takeaways to take into your own playing. Is there a way you can change up the rhythm slightly to make it your own? Is there a way you can add some ornamentation? Is there a way you can add some sort of scoops or phrasing or these kind of extended ideas to add a little extra flavor to the notes? Because the music, like I said, it's just notes on a page. If you just play it straight like that, the audience will just kind of be like, it's not that great. It's not that fun. But if you think about what kind of way you want to interpret the tune and what kind of, feeling you want to convey. I really feel like Johnny Hodges is being very introspective on this tune, just the way he's laying back a little more, having a slight, swing feel, and being very relaxed with his vibrato and very, very minimal with his techniques that he's known for, like the scoops, the bends, and the slides. Just, if you're listening, just how relaxed he is playing this ballad. He's not playing it very forceful. He's not playing it super strong. It's very relaxed. And then he really brings it up in the bridge here. He brings it up a notch, and also he slightly changes his timbre of his horn and being not as much subtone. You hear the difference between what he was doing before. Softer, airier, slower vibrato. But the start of the bridge, he's not doing as much of that subtone. Little more vibrato on the front end. And again, what is he doing differently from what's written on the page? If you just play what's written on the page, you would just get this. But no, he adds some chromaticism to that note. He adds his vibrato, deciding how he wants to use a vibrato. Apologies for the mistake, but hopefully you understand the what I'm trying to get across here. Beautiful. I mean, immediately with that vibrato right at the top. And then he does a little bit of a fall here. And then he gets really, really quiet. It's this arc of, and also, I mean, he has a band behind him to kind of give a little bit of direction of where to go, of where to use those dynamics, how to use the vibrato, how to get, where to get loud, where to get a little softer. Now let's round this out. Just giving a little bit of a pause here so that we don't get any copyright. Hopefully it's short enough that it doesn't catch, but that's what happens when you use copyrighted material, right? But you hear how he's back to the way he played it the first time around. There's this arc. It starts real soft, starts to get a little louder. He makes a little bit more ornamentation, and then he has a fuller sound, less subtone in the bridge, and then back to the subtone in the last Beautiful. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. I mean, I just love the way Johnny Hodges plays ballads, but also how each one has its own personality. Each one has its own interpretation. Each one, he chooses to use different techniques. So when you're thinking about performing on your ballads, or as I'm trying to figure out as well, is, how do you want to use your vibrato? How do you want to use your subtone? Do you want to use subtone throughout the whole song? The portion of the song? Do you want to use any sort of bends or scoops or falls? Do you want to hold on to one note longer than another? These are all things that you can think about to make the music your own, as just playing what's on the page won't sound as exciting. It will sound so straight. How can you find a way to make it your own? But hopefully you enjoyed the video, and hopefully you got some insights to take away. How do you want to use your vibrato? How do you want to use your rhythms? How do you want to use your subtone or not subtone? How do you want to, change up and add some ornamentation, add some chromaticism to the melody to kind of bring out some of your own personality into the tune? And I want to get better about doing my own sort of performance. I don't have a band to perform with me currently, but I have a play along, so I'm gonna steal as much as possible from Johnny Hodges, because that's who I'm studying right now, and I'd like to incorporate some of his ideas in playing, but see what other things that I can come up with. So this is the end of the video. If you want to stop here, I'm just gonna play out the video with my own version of playing this as much as Johnny Hodges as possible. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you next time. Thanks for watching, y'all. If you want to see more Johnny Hodges stuff, I have a full playlist here of a bunch of Johnny Hodges videos. There might be a little subscribe button here. Click that subscribe button, click that like button. And if you would like me to talk about another Johnny Hodges thing or some sort of topic about the saxophone that you're interested in, leave a comment down below and we'll see you next time.